Hey, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you not like this video, comment down below, man. Let's get right into it. Let me know if you a Takeoff fan, Migos fan. Let me know where y'all from, and let's get to it. So Quavo don't want to say nothing. He's not cooperating, not nothing, but because there's something very, very important going on. It's the fact that the two dudes, Cam and Pat, they're trying to pin this on Quavo and Migo bands. You heard it here first. They're trying to pin it on Quavo and Migo bands. Because of the way that they did what they did, they tried to tell that it was in defense. And when you got something in defense, then it's the person who started the whole thing that is going to be the one blamed for everything that happened after the fact. So what they're saying is that they're trying to blame Quavo for stirring up the back and forth outside when they were going back and forth talking, and then Quavo was about to walk off, but then he says something that caused somebody that might have swung. And so we don't, and it's not 100% clear whether Quavo swung first or another dude swung first. And so if Quavo was the one who started the whole bicker backer and back and forth, then they could try to come and blame it on him, or they could try to blame it on Migo bands for already upping and having his just out like that. And as soon as it was pointed or it was up, basically if it's already out and Migo bands has it out, then they could say that it was already defense because the back and forth was going on with Quavo. Quavo was getting into it with the dude. And so that could cause them to already think that something was gonna pop off, basically. So you guys gotta understand, they trying to blame Quavo for getting into it so that like they could basically they're gonna try to say it like this. They're gonna say, yeah, Quavo started it all, da da da. So this is what Cam and Pat would say. They would try to say Quavo started it all. He's the one that got into it with the dude on inside the bowling alley. Then they came outside the store and he got into it with him again, which caused the whole situation to go overboard. Now they gonna try to say that with Migo, and then another guy tried to say with with Quavo, he tried to say that. Now with the dude who blamed Migo bands said that because they was already getting into it outside, as soon as Migo bands pulled out his blick, that was when everything turned into them being on defense mode. And so that's one of the ways that their peoples, whoever they hired or whatever, whoever the people is working their thing, that's what they trying to say, to blame Quavo and Migo bands, which is Quavo's manager, also Quavo's brother, which is a whole entire crazy thing on how they out. But like this could be interesting. Maybe this is why Quavo doesn't want to talk or say anything, is because there's people pointing fingers at him. Even the guys that he could have argued with the dude with the white hat, Big Mike. Big Mike could have got talked to because he is in Houston. And so whenever they trying to do the whole investigation and they going through Houston, then if Big Mike is right there, that he's one of the first people they gonna interview because he's the one that got into it with Quavo outside, like with the white hat. And we already seen who he is and who he rolls with and how he got the connections with jprince Jr., MobTies, and all them. And so at the end of the day, when they spoke with that dude, he could have easily, they could have asked him, who did you get into it with? Who were you going back and forth inside the store and outside the store with? We want to know everything about that. They're not asking about what happened after. They're not asking about what happened before. They want to get down to the bottom of who started to get into it first. Who was the first person to verbally have the verbal back and forth exchange that got it to heat up to where somebody made a certain move. And they was already talking about, Quavo said, the last thing Quavo said was really what set it off, because he was talking about before he swing on somebody or before he does something, So it's like they have a lot of different things. And because they were all talking, you probably be able to hear the volume. They're going to want to get the audio and replay it back. They want to listen to the audio and listen to the phone calls of what was really going on right there in front of that store, in front of that bowling alley. And so basically you guys got to understand that some of these dudes and MobTies or whoever, right, whoever they are, the Lil Cam, the Pat, and whoever else they got, the getaway driver, maybe even people who they talk to, they're going to show their loyalty to MobTies because first of all, they live in their city, so they don't want to have no issues after the fact. So what's going to happen is that they're going to try to blame Quavo and the Migos manager for everything. And then because they don't want to point fingers or say anything about MobTies. Anytime they ask anything about MobTies, they're gonna say they plead the fifth and that they were gonna remain silent on those questions. But then if they ask about, oh, did Quavo start the back and forth? Did Migo bands? Was he the first one to already have hit pulled out something? And so when they ask those type of questions, it's gonna paint the picture that it could be actually put on Quavo and his manager, which is crazy because everybody knows that this whole thing should have never even happened to Takeoff, and that like this partially even could have been partly set up. You got to understand that that whole situation, they already got beef. And then that's another thing. If they say that Quavo started getting into it with Big Mike first, they're going to bring up the back and forth on social media that they've been having throughout the whole years to say that not only did Quavo start the back and forth and the verbal exchanges inside the bowling alley, but also he was doing it online and, tweeting and DMing people. And I think it was like people from MobTies and Lil Cam side DMing Quavo the whole time, talking about this and that, like they were hating on him or something. But you guys got to understand, out of all the Migos, Quavo was really the only one that was trying to form, going through MobTies and everything. Takeoff was just chilling. Offset really didn't have like Offset didn't want to be hanging around MobTies like that. He already knows what it's like coming out of North Atlanta and everything, and the people that he used to run with. So it's not like a good look for him in his past to be going through MobTies and all that. It almost seems like that all that's gonna do is end up getting him back into the place he was at when they dropped Bando, which when he was locked up. So that's why Takeoff didn't want to hang around MobTies when, the Migos like Quavo and stuff asked him, do you want to come to Houston with us the last few times, like even last year or earlier back in the beginning of this year. Offset didn't want to go to Houston to go to MobTies and all them because he was like, you know what? At the end of the day, if we hang out with them so many times, they're gonna end up having something happen while we're there, and then we're gonna get caught up in the mix of it. And look exactly what happened. That's exactly what ended up happening. And so it was for those same exact reasons why Offset wasn't really trying to go hang out with them that it ended up happening, and it was when just Quavo and Takeoff were there. And you got to understand, it was Quavo who was trying to get all the little extra bread side deals, but they finessed him by making him think that he was their friend. But really, what they were doing was making him check in and getting a big bag off of him every single time that they came down to Houston to visit. You got to understand that Quavo spent almost probably a little bit over $1.5 million with them just through the years by checking in with their security. And in one particular, he could have spent over 100 bands every time that he went to Houston to go check in with security. And it's always like a mixed crowd too. You would think that he would be with like Junior and Jazz Prince's like main security, like the people that they ride with, but no, they giving him the backups. They give him the bench warmer security. So the backup security, the bench warmer security, they really not actually like professional. They still be, trying to snatch something out there at the store. They still be, asking for this or that. They still pull up late. They still is very like, professional with it. So what happens is that the backup security that they give whenever Quavo and Takeoff checked in, it was like Cam and Pat and them. So it was always some like more wild dudes from the street that didn't have as much bread as the ones that hang out with jprince Jr. and Jazz Prince. So these were the backups. So they were like, they were still hungry out there, starving, and they were looking for any kind of lick. So it was almost like if the going gets tough, man, what's gonna happen is that they're gonna have to hit a lick on whoever they doing security for. So at the end of the day, you really can't trust nobody, even if you got security or whatever, or if your security is people you thought you knew. So you got to basically always keep your head on a swivel and make sure you securing yourself first before you contract that out to somebody else to do it for you. And a lot of people always say this, it's always a backdoor situation. People get backdoored, so they get backdoored by people from their own camp, from their own team, or the security that's with them. It happens so many times. So you got to understand that. That's another thing of the scenarios that people talking about. So make sure you guys stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment down below, and I'm going to catch you on the next one.